Hello and welcome back to the ministry. This is Cameron. Now, I actually have to say, I'm going to be honest with you. I had to sit here for a minute with the Lord before I even turned this camera on. Because I was like, do you even want me to talk about this? Because I feel like sometimes we either talk about the counterfeit a lot, we talk about the prodigals, their relationship, or their, what's the word I'm looking for, God? Their disobedience in times, and then of course the kingdom marriage. Everybody loves the sweet part. Everybody loves this part, but don't nobody really want to talk about that other side. And people have a tendency, Lord lead me how you want me to say this. People have a tendency to vilify the counterfeit for being who she is, right? And there's levels to that. Jezebel's daughter was not like her mother. She carried the same Jezebelic tendencies. And some might even say that she was worse for it because she lured you in by making you feel like that she had the air of godliness. It's like you have a person that, God, why are we talking about this part? I thought we weren't. Okay, whatever. She is a victim narcissist. I'm gonna tell it straight up. That's what it is. She's a victim narcissist. She plays a victim, meaning she's less likely to look like she is a problem in a person's life, period. She looks like she is the sweet, the kind, the what have you, but she manipulates from a posture of being the victim. Where Jezebel outrightly comes at you like, this is what we're doing, this is where I'm at, don't come with it, I'm gonna make you do it. Okay, so there's those kind, and then you got that neutral in between person, can go both ways, right? Now, what am I here for? Jesus expressed this because I don't want to be talking about out the left side of my mouth or right. But when I sit and I think about what we've spoken about up until this point, when I talked about in Jacob, Hercules, and Samson, I spoke about there being this woman. Why am I here, God? And she had the soul at one point, but the counterfeit made her feel like she could go back to who she once was with him. But that Jezebelic tendency, that because he made her feel. He made her feel. He made her feel like she didn't have to operate or conform to the conformity of Baal being her, her dominating authority. even when you sit and you think of Vashti, Vashti wasn't so much that she was a bad person. She just felt she had the right and the ability to state, I'm not going to be used in that manner. But the people around the king told him, her using her authority positions her as having the authority to tell others what they can and can't do. And operating in a level of feminine dominance that would change the perspective of women in total. Okay? That they had the right and the ability to have authority over their men, and they did not want that to become the new normal or the rebellion in the household of women in that time frame. Where are we going, God? So with that, some of these women acted upon being a victim. They were just as, I'm not saying that they are innocent, because they were not. Some of them knew exactly what they were doing. And in exactly knowing what they were doing, I'm speaking of they played victim in order to use, manipulate, and operate in the heart and head space that they were operating in. But there comes a point in time, and I believe the whole reason that I veered in this direction is I've been hearing Tamar Braxton's Changed in my head all morning, to be honest with you, since I'll say 45 minutes before I started this video. And it's her stating that she was changed by the relationship that she was in, but knew it had to be released and let go. And further confirmation of this, I was listening to Prophetic Encouragement, did 2 parts of a word. And in it, she literally spoke of there's no peace. And I'm reminded of the time when my relationship was coming to an end. And I desperately tried to hold on to it. But I came to the realization that it had turned into the exact same thing that I had come to it for, to give me an escapism in relation to the other parts of my life. And it had turned just as tumultuous as those other places and situations. And because of that, I knew it had to be released and let go. Because I couldn't have that also being a source of pain for me. Somebody needs this. Because the origination that I was coming to was that God, how do I say this? People have the right to make their own decisions. And it's not just a kingdom marriage thing. You can put what I just said on kingdom marriage and counterfeit relationship, But you know, a counterfeit relationship can be between you and a friend. A counterfeit relationship can be between you and a business partner. A counterfeit relationship can be with you and people in your family that just do not and never will understand where God's trying to take you. That can be a counterfeit too. So don't just pull on this as being, ooh, it's a counterfeit. No, this is counterfeit business relations, opportunities, situations, circumstances, friendships, relationships. This can be counterfeit all across the board because some things come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And this brings me to what the Lord was really bringing me to. That some people, and this may be your prodigal, the reason why it has taken so long is because their hearts are devoted. They're loyal. But there's such a thing as loyalty to default. You can, and I was talking about this a little bit in my podcast that I just uploaded the other day, that you can be so loyal to something that you will allow it to hurt you, cut you, stab you, beat you, and just tear you down. And pride, it could be a childhood wound, it could be what have you, that you were reared that loved look like pain. You would stay in it no matter how much pain was there because you're devoted and you're loyal. And the irony of the fact is that a lot of people, when they choose to be in relation with someone, they'll hold on to their decision tooth and nail. But when God gives them something, sometimes the level of resistance to what God has given them will cause them that the second they get what God's trying to give them, they will easily push that thing away. Where when they wanted to be devotedly loyal to something that was hurting, harming them, or trying to destroy them, the thing that isn't, they want to get rid of. Why? Internal wounds and things that needed to be healed. The loyalty to that thing. Because sometimes your loyalty to something will obscure your ability to see it for what it is until it gets to a point that it can no longer be ignored. And the level of frustration that that thing brings will cause the person to release it forcibly. They'll forcibly be forced to release that thing, no matter how loyal they are to it. I'm seeing in the spirit, Lord, show me how I can describe this, because one hand has to hold the phone. But I'm seeing something like, look at it like this. Think of two people who are knee to knee, meaning they are sitting in a floor position and their knees are up against each other. If both parties pushed their leg from the knee all the way down to the foot as forcibly as possible against the other person, they may be able to sit in that posture for a moment, but what the Lord's showing me is a forcible release, if I can make this. Jesus, how does that work? The force in which it takes that at both parties pushing at the same time, that it will literally, when the tension has built to a certain degree, it will force release because you can't hold it no longer. And I'm seeing the force release that the two are pressed so hard against each other that it pushes them with an inertia backwards, meaning literally pushing them apart. That's God, because so somebody needed that. I'm gonna finish this part and then I'm gonna go into another video because the Lord showed me. I did a video. It had to have been almost a year now. I give it nine months or so ago, because I haven't had this channel for a year yet. So I'll say it was anywhere from 9 months to 8 months ago. And I got righteously indignant because, let's just be honest, I was fasting that day. When I'm fasting, I'm more likely to be irritated with spiritual things. Not so much that I'm irritated that I'm speaking on spiritual things. It's more so an irritation of my spirit is vexed. And I'm trying to get that out to you. And I spoke about when a person chooses to ignore or run away from what God's trying to give them. Everyone has the ability and potential to make their own decisions. They do. God gives us all free will. But in having your own free will, and I spoke about this in that video, that you can have your own free will, but the decision you make, if you choose to step or go against God, and it's funny, I was just looking at a video just before I came on here where the woman was talking about she had a dream and she was talking to somebody about wanting to get, it was an ex person, a person that was exed out of this person's life, wanting to get back. I talked about in the Father, Son, Holy Spirit word that God was ghosted out of your God ordained spouse's life because God was trying to show them that their loyalty lied in the wrong place. And I didn't even say it that way. But because I'm talking about loyalty today, he's showing me as we're talking that the loyalty was misplaced and was in the wrong place for people, places, relationships, and situations. And the person in that video was talking about they wanted to get back with. The individual that was speaking was referring to the dream that the person in the dream wanted to get back with. God has wanted to get back with your prodigal spouse. And for a long time, they resisted it. But for some, they recently made the decision, I am coming back to God. But in the making that decision, the loyalty, and this has been a theme God's kind of been dealing with me in the past 2 days that I've been talking. And this is me flowing because the way it works for me is I give God reign of what he wants me to say. I didn't know I was going to say any of this before I got on here, to be honest with you. I just knew the loyalty part, and he kind of brought me to this phase here that they came to the realization they were being loyal to the wrong things, people, places, situations, and scenarios. And in that forced leg kick that I talked about, where the knees were against each other, the amount of force to hold it together would literally create an equal opposite reaction. Total science, not a science buff. Equal opposite reaction that would push the people apart. I saw Prophetic Encouragement's video where she talked about the counterfeit and the prodigal are tired. I remember when my relationship ended with my counterfeit. Like I said, the stress of the relationships around me externally to this one, I was keeping that relationship only because I felt like it was going to benefit me for keeping me in the element of not feeling pain in this place where I felt it in others. But when it started to reflect the exact same level of frustration, the inertia of the equal opposite reaction caused me to release it. Okay? For some, the God ordained spouse was forcibly, by situation, circumstance, and scenario, to push that counterfeit away because of the fact that they came to the realization their loyalty lied in the wrong place. When you give your life to God, everything out of order in your life comes in order. But in order for it to come into order, you must release everything out that is out of the Lord's order. So I was not trying to go to kingdom marriage related things, but yeah, that pressure forcibly created a pushback that caused a tailspin that pushed them with an intensity away from what no longer belonged in their life. Whether it's a relationship romantically, a counterfeit business opportunity, a counterfeit business alignment, a counterfeit familial relationship, meaning they were holding family members too close and the stress of it pushed apart. But these things are all becoming blaringly clear to the point that it can no longer be ignored. And I spoke a little bit about this on the podcast, that you have to release. And I did a post on Instagram years ago where I talked about the letting go of things that are no longer good for you. But think about how, and I guess this because relationship is such a easy thing to hold on to. When you are disobediently trying to hold on to something that you need to let go. You ever been in a relationship? You knew it was over. You felt it was over. Everything about it reflected doom to the end of this thing, right? But what do? Because there was at some point a level of comfort. We try to hold on to the memory of the place in that thing that was comfortable, okay? So when the relationship started, when the this started, when it was. Because of that, you hold on to the memory of it, but choose to ignore the reality that it needed to be released. And you hold on to the facade of the fact that it cannot continue. The facade tells you, I'm hold on to this thing because I'm loyal, because I'm not one to leave, because I'm not this, because in all actuality, you have a childhood wound or past wound that you needed to be healed from. And in the needing to be healed from it, you came to the realization of it that you cannot hold on to something, because in the actuality, most people are more afraid of releasing it than holding on to it. Because once they release it, the pieces are going to fall where they may. Meaning, everything they tried to ignore that truly was painful is going to become blaringly obvious. Okay? And they want to stay in a pleasant state of ignorance to them. So they choose to hold on to the illusion until God forcibly creates that level of inertia that pushes a pushback that's going to throw the two people into opposite directions. So that by the time this release occurs, pressure release, all of this, the two people are so far apart. It's like, because they were pushed apart because a release needed to happen. So, I don't know. I don't know if anybody's having a counterfeit situation. This may be the counterfeit scenario. But when I was kept hearing changed from Tamar Braxton. So this is what the Lord kind of pulled me. I wasn't even trying to talk about any of this. I'm going to be honest. I wasn't. But it's literally going to feed into my next word, because the Lord has brought me to Deuteronomy and he wants me to talk about the curse. And I'm going to go deeper into it when I go into this, because we're already at the end of this video. But everyone has the right to free will. Absolutely. You can make your own decisions. You can do what you want to do. But that doesn't mean the decision in which you choose to make is going to be of a benefit to you. It could actually do you more harm or damage. It's your own decision. It's your personal right. But in actuality, the choice of it can push you. Because there's a scripture, and I talked about this in one of my music reviews, that a dog should not go back to its own vomit. God can do all that he wants to do in a person, but if they willingly choose to ignore what it is he's trying to give them, there is a scripture that says he will give them over to that delusion. But do we not recognize that in being given over to your delusion, death, a way it seems right to a man, the end thereof is death, comes from making your own decision without God being in it. So People have the right to make their own decision, but it doesn't mean it's right for them. A person can fight, but God will only fight you as long as he feels like he's willing to fight you before he will truly give you over to that delusion. Okay? Whether it's the delusion of the lifestyle you thought you were going to live, the delusion of the career or the collaboration you thought you were going to have, whether it's the delusion of the marriage and the relationship you thought that you were going to walk into, whether it be the delusion of the fact that you know your family don't like you, but everything in you wants their acceptance, and everything about them has always pushed you away. But the Lord will even give you over to the delusion that you can fix that. You can't fix it without him. You can't do any of the things I just mentioned without him. So when God says he wants you to come back to him, he's saying that I need you to come back to me so that I can fix this in which way in which you truly desire. That means people, places, situations, and scenarios may not be there when God's done, because he has to break it up to build it back. And most people that are in denial, they refuse to allow the breaking to occur. The isolation of dealing with themselves. And this is what I was talking about in the podcast. They would prefer to put medication on it, drugs on it, alcohol on it, distracted with sex, instead of facing it at face value of what it truly is. There's a quote that I keep hearing from the movie Marry Me, where the guy would always say, sit in the problem and the answer will come. Most people won't sit in the problem because they won't acknowledge that it is a problem in order for them to sit in it and see the solution. They would rather rebel and ignore. So with that being said, a person has the right to their own decisions. But they will have a void without God being in it. And they'll feel it. They will feel dead within themselves. Even Adam, when he did not get to live past the day because he separated himself from God. So take this how you will. But I'm going to go into the Deuteronomy 28 in the next video. So until next time, bye-bye.